Jamie so she can tell you who is going to win between a crocodile and a hippo.
Brent has been telling you that patience is a virtue, and that, of course, is something that this massive Nile crocodile knows well. There, look, finally, patience has paid off for us as well, as the two hippo battle it out. We've been waiting for them to do this. Now, Zachary and Douglas, while these two young boys give us an impressive display of their ivory, you say that in a confrontation between a crocodile and a hippopotamus, the hippopotamus would win every time. And you are absolutely correct. A healthy adult hippopotamus will be able to take on a single croc every single time. Look at those sharp spikes of ivory sticking out of their jaw, the massive gape of their mouths. A crocodile is simply no match for them. A baby hippopotamus, potentially, but remember how I mentioned the fact that the baby hippos have to stay right next to mum all the time. So the chance of a crocodile getting a baby hippo on its own is relatively slim. My name is Jamie, and you are on a live safari from the very cloudy Greater Kruger National Park. I'm sorry, there is a very angry elephant trumpeting away somewhere to the south of me. We're going to go and have a look there in a moment. But we've been talking about hippo versus a crocodile. There are very, very few, and I mean really rare, recorded cases where a group of crocodiles have attacked a lone and injured and sick hippo. That's probably the only situation where a crocodile would win out, even a massive specimen like this one. At least 9 feet from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, or her nose. The females can grow just as large as the males, and as I said, prehistoric in his looks. And on this cool morning, it's just waiting for the sun to pop out from behind the clouds to hopefully inject it with a little bit of energy. And crocodiles can control their internal body temperatures to an extent, but they are still ectotherms and they're still reliant on the external temperatures around them. They're truly fascinating, unchanged for thousands and thousands of years in terms of their design. It doesn't seem, though, as our Nile crocodile is likely to go and pick a fight with these hippo. Kelly, you want to know, while we look at our hippo croc scene in front of us, you want to know how many crocodiles there are in this waterhole. The truth is, Kelly, it is impossible for us to ever know. Crocodile move about. There's one that's walked all the way from somewhere around here to a waterhole where we haven't seen a croc in the last year and a half, and all of a sudden it is there. When you see one crocodile, there's a good chance there is another one around. We know of this particular large specimen and at least 2 others that are not quite as big but almost as large, and there could be a variety of medium-sized crocodiles in between. They do get up and they do move in between waterholes, so never ever, if you come and visit the African bush anywhere in Africa, please do not go swimming in muddy waterholes, because you just never know what might be inhabiting them. The last thing you want to meet is a crocodile. Actually, the last thing you want to meet is a hippopotamus. They, of course, responsible, in theory, for more deaths than any other animal in Africa, more human deaths. I'm sure you're all curious to know, as am I, as to why James has now found himself prostrate on the ground. Let's go and find out.
I am indeed lying on the ground, everybody, because that's just a wonderful thing to do in amongst the summer grass. If you have just joined us, you are on a live safari, the 6th of 8, and we've got 2 more after this, obviously. That's 6 plus 2 is 8. Yes, indeed. My name is James Henry. You've just been with Jamie. Brent is with the Leopard, and Steph is out on foot looking for things. Hashtag Safari Live is the best possible way to get hold of us. Now, in fact, the only way to get hold of us, that's on Twitter. Now, we are actually not just lying here for the sake of being lazy. There is an astounding little spider here. So if you'd like to know anything about the spider, hashtag Safari Live is how you can ask us, or you can ask us about any of the other wonderful creatures we've been seeing today. Isn't he special? Okay, we're going to play a game now. Well, sorry, we're going to play a game after we've shown you where we are in the world. We're going to go down, zooming in towards where Jamie is, and that is on Chitwa. So you can see we're at the southern tip of Africa. We're at the northeast corner of South Africa, the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park, And that's where Chitwa is, and that's where Jamie is sitting with those beautiful hippopotamus right now. Okay, well, now we're going to play a game. It's the same game that we've played every week, you and I. This time, we're not going to include Simon because the last time we played it, he said a bad word, and so he's been banished from playing this game, so I'm going to play it with you. And the game works as follows. I'm going to say 3 things to you. One of the things that I'm going to say to you is not true. Indeed, it is a complete and foul and contemptible untruth. You must spot which one of the following 3 statements that is, and then tell us. #Safari Live, answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3. So whichever statement is incorrect, you #Safari Live and write answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3. David, are you ready?
Yes.
I just need to mentally prepare myself. Okay, I've done it. Statement 1. There are more than 500 species of bird to be found in the Kruger National Park. Statement 2. The Kruger National Park contains the largest number of wild dogs of any other protected area on planet Earth. Statement number 3. The Kruger #Safari Live, that's how you tell us which one was absolute nonsense. Right, let's head straight across to Brent Leo Smith, who's not too far from me, over the back of my shoulder. I hope Tingana's not stalking me. Let's go and find out.
Well, James, you're safe for now, but I'll let you know if he comes any closer. Now, he's still sitting on top of the termite mound. He's a bit more awake than he was a little while ago. And we've just repositioned, and we are basically sitting almost eye level with one of the dominant predators in the bush. And as you can see, he takes absolutely no notice of us. And takes a bit of time and hard work to habituate these animals to be like this. But we are so incredibly privileged to be able to sit this close to this incredibly beautiful big cat. Now he's about 9-10 years old, so he's in his prime. He's probably got another couple of years at the top. Now, the reason that a lot of the cats don't have too long a period at the top of the food chain is because if they were, when their daughters would grow up, they would end up starting to mate with their daughters, and that could cause a problem for inbreeding in the population. So that's why he's only got a few years at the top before the next young up-and-coming male comes in and takes over. Now, Tingana is quite an interesting leopard in terms of his history, because we don't actually know where he came from. So with a lot of the other leopards, male and female, that we see in this area, we know who their mothers were. They might have come from another part of the reserve. Tingana sort of just appeared out of nowhere like a ghost, and it's so great. And that probably means he could have come from very far. The leopard males have been recorded dispersing for up to 200 miles from where they were born. So it's amazing how nature makes sure. Oh, big yawn, half yawn. Oh, not going to show us your teeth just yet. So it makes sure that they don't interbreed with their daughters and mothers and cousins. Oh, you see those canines? Beautiful. Beautiful ivory there. Oh, what's he heard? Now, he's definitely a lot more alert. The temperature's dropped a little bit, so the cool weather is better for him to hunt in. Now, Brendan is wondering how long a leopard's claws are. Brendan, they're probably about 1.5 to 2 inches. Now, they do break, but they can grow back, and hopefully we'll see them cleaning them. They do spend quite a bit of time preening their claws, just like a domestic cat, scraping it along the branches of a tree, or a dead branch. Now, a few of you might wonder how we identify these different animals. And, oh, he's falling asleep. Oh, sweetness. But I'll talk about how to identify him in a tiny bit. Now, Daisy is wondering, do they use mainly their claws or teeth to fight? They use both, and not only their front claws, their back claws. What they'll try to do is get a grip on their opponent with their teeth. Oh, there's some of those teeth. And then what they'll do is grip their opponent with their front paws and their teeth, and then they jump and they use their back claws to try gouge out their opponent's stomach. So it's quite a savage way of fighting, but it is incredible to watch. See how his ears are always on the move. Now, while he's sitting here, because I think he's going to get up and start moving and carrying on hunting soon, I just want to zoom in on his face. And we're going to see how to identify the different leopards. So each individual leopard, of course, all its spots are unique, but the easiest spot to identify is the last line of spots above his whiskers. And that is what we often refer to as a leopard's spot pattern. Now, he has got 5 on the right and 4 on the left. And just in case you're not 100% sure which line of spots I'm talking about, you can see his last line of whiskers, and just above them there's another set of spots, and that's the spots that don't have any whiskers coming out of them. And of course, often scars and other things like that help us to identify the different individuals. But scars change, scars heal, and being a male leopard fighting for territory constantly, he's always going to add a few new scars to his face. So we're going to sit here, and hopefully he is going to get moving shortly. And while we do that, Steph has got the scavenger that looks down from above.
So there's a vulture sitting in the tree just over there. Now, while one vulture is not too much to worry yourself about, vultures need to sit at night time as well, so they don't hang around in groups together when it's just one or two as a pair. But right here there's more than one vulture, and I absolutely think that there's something over here of note. So I don't know what we're going to find going forward over here, to be quite honest. It could be nothing. There could be a kill in front of us over here, which is quite exciting. But why don't you send through a guess as to what you think is going to be in here? Do you think that there's going to be an animal that we find dead over here, or do you think it's just going to be a roosting place for some more vultures? Use that hashtag Safari Live, send through what your options are going to be, and let's see what it is as we go on. But let's sneak down the road. What you want to try and do is be very careful when you're approaching an area that has a potential predator in. And that's because if there is an animal lying here on some food, say lions or wild dog or leopard that has killed something that is lying here, they're going to want to protect their food. They're not going to want to give up their right to that food very easily, and in particular, not for a human like myself. So it becomes increasingly more of a concern the closer you get to where vultures are sitting in a tree. Now come sit here quickly. There's another vulture in the top of the tree there. So now we've absolutely, they're just flying away. There's one and another one. Is this one going to fly away? Don't quite know what's there. But anyway, get those answers through to that hashtag Safari Live. We're going to carry on going through, and in the meantime, you're going to James in the tent.
Now, everybody, you've been watching as we've been trying to raise these caterpillars, but I have to tell you it hasn't been easy. I kept them in a very beautifully decorated pink box, but they didn't seem to be getting any bigger. But the more I looked at the ones in the wild, the bigger they seemed to be getting. So I thought to myself, well, let's try and keep some in the wild. But of course we know that things like this hornbill, which unfortunately is now dead, will come through here and eat such caterpillars. Then I thought to myself, what would a farmer do in a situation like this? And I came up with a great plan. Behold, Tom Brady the Scarecrow. He is absolutely terrifying. Obviously, I named him today. He was going to be Matt or Tom, and he is now, well, it looked like he was going to be Matt for a long, long time, until, of course, that extra time win by the Patriots. And now Tom Brady will stand guard over our caterpillars for the rest of time. How appropriate. Now, let us perhaps just have a quick look at one of these caterpillars under the microscope, if you would like to. I've lost him now, David. Do you remember where he was?
He's around here somewhere.
He's around here somewhere. Oh, how awkward. All right, well, while I look for it, as I showed you here, of course, this is a predator, and we did have some prey around here. There's some prey over there, and this prey has, well, various spikes to ward off being eaten by predators, and so the predators don't always have it their own way. Take a look at how that plays out. Life for many creatures of Africa is precarious. There is always something that wants to eat you. This young buffalo had a dreadful morning in the company of the Nkahuma Pride and Mfumo, the Birmingham male.
This is indeed the end for this buffalo calf. You can see the male now going in, grabbing it by the throat.
But once in a while, the underdog, or in this case, the under-lizard, fights back. The hungry young leopardess thought she was in for an early supper, but the indomitable rock monitor was having none of it, biting, hissing and swinging his tail at the much larger predator.
See that? Did you see how it used its tail? They use it like a whip.
Sometimes defiance in the face of certain death is the only option.
You got very lucky.
When elephants are involved, there is no confusion about the wilderness hierarchy.
Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Elephants are renowned for being utterly intolerant of nature's killers, even though most predators pose them no threat at all. The war between buffalo and lion is ancient. It takes place every day in the African wilderness, and the outcome is never certain. The young bull is immensely powerful, and while his distress bellow may attract more predators, it can also bring in a giant grey rescue party. And lions, despite their fearsome reputation, know when to choose discretion as the better part of valor.
Back on the car, and he's on the move, and he's done exactly what we've predicted. He's heading down into these little dry riverbeds, and he's looking for antelope. As that temperature drops slightly, there he goes. Oh, he's on the hunt. He's now moved into slightly thicker bush, and the reason for that, being an ambush predator, it's going to give him more cover if he needs, or if he spots something that he needs to sneak up on. Brian wants to know, how long can a leopard go without eating? Brian, they can probably go nearly 2 weeks without food, but at that point it becomes very, very dire. They'll often go 4 or 5 days without eating, and if we had to average everything a male leopard eats over a month, because he can go, as I said, days without eating, he'll probably eat, on average, just around 15 pounds of meat per day. And of course, he can glut himself with up to 30 pounds of meat in a single sitting. Like most of the predators out here, they've got incredible digestive systems that work very quickly, just in case they lose their prey to another predator. So they try eat as much as possible and digest as much as possible. Now you can see he's using this little dry creek bed, and he's going very slowly. He's just making sure there's no potential prey up ahead. Now the wind's coming straight into his face. It's perfect for him, so he can probably smell if there's something up ahead as well. And he's going to keep stalking through this little ravine. We're going to stay with him. We're about to go into a little break, but he is on the hunt, and hopefully when you get back he'll be stalking some form of antelope and he's waited for you to catch it. There he is, he's right in front of us again. I'm trying to keep my eyes up, making sure there's nothing ahead of us. He might go visit the area around James just now. He's still right in the base of this little river. Want to be spotted by anything. He's very hungry. Probably hasn't eaten in 3 or 4 days. Okay, he's moving away from this little river system. I'm going to try get around because I can't cross through it. Okay, while we do that, let's go see Mr. Henry, who's worried about being stalked by Mr. Tingana.
Sometimes Leo Smith talks an utter load of garbage. I'm not in the least bit worried about anything Tingana is stalking. I hope he catches something. He deserves it. He's the Prince Consort. And if Karula is indeed coming into heat, as we suspect she might be, he's going to need all the food he can get. So I hope you're enjoying that. Wonderful that he's finally decided to get up and do some performing. Brilliant stuff. Jamie, I think, has left Chitwa Dam. I'm just trying to see where she's going. She seems to be on to... Oh, she's going towards... Well, I suppose I can tell you. You don't need to be surprised by it. She's going towards a giraffe. Right, 1 minute of TV. We have in here, everybody... Well, you can be surprised by this one, but most of you will have seen one of these before, but this is a new one. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous, David. I'm taking tremendous risks by showing it. I'm so brave. And I'm just going to quickly ask Kirsten to give me the order of what's going to happen. Welcome back. We're going black screen. Bye. Welcome back everybody to your live safari from the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry. Jamie's out there looking for things as we speak. She saw the leopards earlier. I think she's looking for something quite tall right now. Brent is still with Tingana and Steph is on foot trying to avoid things like I've got here inside the skull. But I'm not going to tell you about that just yet. I am going to tell you that victory is mine. And not yours today. For the first time in our live safari series, I have won the game 2 Truths and 1 Lie. Well, I sort of came second. No, I did win. 20% of you said that the fact that there were 500 birds in the Kruger National Park was incorrect. That is indeed correct. There are more than 500 birds found in the Kruger National Park. 500 bird species, all of them magnificent. About 250 around this area where we are now commonly seen. Then 50% of you said that the Kruger National Park does not in fact contain the biggest population of wild dogs in Africa. You were wrong. I'm so sorry. That was in fact true. true. That was definitely very true, and you thought it was all wrong. Ha ha ha, 50% of you. Then, the last one, which I think is probably the most interesting one, 32% of you thought that it was incorrect that the Kruger National Park is the largest park in Africa. It isn't the largest park in Africa, so those 32% of you were absolutely correct. The biggest one is a place called the Selous in Tanzania, and you know it's 5 million hectares. That is 12 million acres. It's massive. It's more than double the size of the Kruger National Park, and of course none of those boundaries are actually fenced, so it just sort of bleeds out into community land and other wildlife land. It's a massive, massive area in Tanzania. Okay, let's have a look here. This is very dangerous. I'm taking an enormous risk showing this to you. This, everybody, is one of the most venomous spiders in Africa. It is a violin spider. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Steph may well have shown you one of these on one of his first walks, but this one is living inside the skull of a buffalo, and I suspect it's doing that because it's probably about to lay its eggs if it hasn't done so already. Just underneath it, it will carry the egg sometimes in a little pouch in its jaws, and I think I can just see the beginnings of that starting to happen. So over the course of the next 2 weeks after this, we'll have a look and just see how this violin spider is progressing. I'm obviously not taking any risk at all. They are not exactly what you would describe as aggressive creatures. And as I was saying last week about my friend the giraffe over here, at least this long-dead buffalo, Bertie was his name, is still making a contribution to the ecology of this area by providing a home for a violin spider. Let's head to the air to have a look for Brent. There he is, and there you can see him following the wonderful prince consort Tingana. Now, I think that Tingana is in two minds about whether he's hunting or marking territory. Often when a leopard is hunting, he does what he was doing when Brent, first found him. They walk through the bush, slinking underneath bushes and staying in cover. What you can see him doing here is walking along a very obvious path. The obvious path, of course, there's Leo Smith giving us a wave. That's typical. And he's marking his territory. You saw him spraying on that bush. Brent will currently now be inhaling the gentle scent of buttered popcorn. Yes, that's what I said. Buttered popcorn. It really does smell a little bit like going to a movie house when you go past a quarry bush that a leopard has marked. So that's what he'll be smelling now. And let's go and find out from him if he feels like he's at the cinema.
The smell of buttered popcorn in the morning never reminds me of the cinema. I grew up in the African bush. It reminds me of leopards. And isn't it amazing? You've got to see what that vulture that Steph was with might see from the air as it flies around looking for something to scavenge. Now, he's moved into an ideal area to hunt. We've got these lovely thickets that run up to a larger riverbed, and although he's been walking down the road, now that's quite a common occurrence for leopards. Most of the roads here are built on old big game trails, and the leopards and lions like to utilize them quite heavily to move up and down, and so it's always a good place to leave your buttered popcorn scent, because there's a very good chance that another leopard will walk down there. So it's in a nice obvious place where a female or potentially a rival male might get to take a whiff of Mr. Tingana's scent. So this is very exciting. Remember, we are 100% live. You are following this male leopard on his territorial march/hunt live from South Africa, and he's heading now down towards that little riverbed. I'm going to keep up with him. I'm just trying to minimize my impact on him. I'm not crashing through the bush. Hello, Button the cockatoo. Button the cockatoo would like to know, is the dewlap on male leopards, only found on male leopards? Indeed it is. Some older females might get a little bit of it, but it's there to protect them when they battle for territory. He's now found himself another big termite mound, and one of the reasons leopards do that is it gives them a nice high vantage point to see potential prey coming or to see potential threats like hyenas or lions or wild dogs. Now, we're going to move around, try to get a bit closer to him again. While we do that, we're going to go across to Jamie, who's got an animal who doesn't need a termite mound to get a bit of height.
Absolutely not. From a slightly shorter spotted creature to our really tall spotted creature, we have a lovely surprise for you in the form of this lovely lady giraffe. Now, for those of you that have just joined, my name is Jamie and you are on a live safari, seeing some truly amazing things, from that leopard to the hippo that we were with earlier, and now a very special little creature. And you might be wondering, why am I saying little creature if we're looking at a massive giraffe? Well, just have a look to the right of her. There is a tiny little giraffe next to her. So she's got a baby. It's just over a month old, would be my guess. It started to nibble on leaves, so it might even be a little bit older than that. It might be closer to 3 months, but I don't think so. I think it's just nibbling leaves because it's trying out what Mom's doing. Isn't it adorable? Wait till you see it next to the mother. It is absolutely minute. We're going to try and shift a little bit closer to her in a second so that we can give you a better view of this baby giraffe. You can have a chance to see how tiny it is in comparison there. It's coming through in the background, just behind the bush. It's gone up to Mom again, affectionately rubbing up against her. Come, let's go. Let's try and go forward a bit. And then perhaps we'll have a chance to get a better view. So what I'm going to do is I'm just starting my vehicle and I'm letting the engine run for just a little bit, just so that they don't have this starting of the engine and then all of a sudden movement as well combined with that noise. And in that way you can make sure that we don't have a major impact on these animals at all, and we don't scare them in any way. It's important to remember that we live here in their home, not the other way around, and so we're always very, very careful about the impact that we have. So I'm watching her carefully, making sure that they feel comfortable. Yes, little one, hello, look at you. Aren't you absolutely adorable? Our baby giraffe are always so terribly disproportionate. Look at that. Oh, Zachary, you sent through your question. Oh, Mom, wait, Mom. Oh, wait, Mom, I've suddenly realized how far away Mom is. Wait for me. Don't leave me. Zachary, you want to know how much a baby giraffe weighs? Zachary, they're born at just under 200 pounds. And they will obviously continue to grow from there. The funny thing about giraffe being born is that they have a 2-meter drop. A 2-meter drop. The female does not lie down to give birth. She stays standing. And the little one faces its very first introduction to the world in the form of falling down all that way. So 2 meters, 6 feet. There goes Mom. Her baby's going to follow behind her soon. Here she is, standing still and statuesque. I don't want to move. I don't want to startle them in any way. Just wait and see. Baby's going to start making its way towards her. What's she looking out for? Our giraffe are one of our most fascinating creatures, and I find that they tend to start looking weirder the longer that they look. Now, they are an animal that perhaps doesn't receive as much. Here it comes, Mommy. Wait for me, Mommy. There we go. Hello. Yes. It's one of the creatures that doesn't receive as much attention as, say, lions or elephants or rhino, but it is a creature that's facing what's been termed a silent extinction. Mark, you want to know why giraffe numbers are going down? The biggest reason, Mike, you want to know why it is that giraffe numbers are plummeting. The biggest answer is, of course, loss of habitat, as well as poaching for not just medicinal use, but for bushmeat as well. They especially in parts of Africa, sort of to the north of us, where there is civil unrest or social upheaval, you'll find that animals immediately become the victims as well as the human beings. So that's one of the big reasons. Fortunately for us in the reserve that we're in now, every animal that you see here is protected. These are probably among some of the safest animals in Africa. Everything out here is kept perfectly safe, or at least given the best possible protection from poaching. Here she goes, striding off, and it's not uncommon to find that the female giraffe actually get quite far away from their calves. It seems to be between. You stick with these giraffe to get a good view of that little one, but while we do that, it seems as though Steph has been doing some detective work.
We definitely are doing some detective work, and I must say thank you to Bonnie and Stephen, who have kept the hopes alive by guessing for the quiz whether we're going to find a roosting place where vultures just overnighted, or whether we're going to find a kill alive. Bonnie and Stephen, you said that you were going to find a kill, and you know, the closer we get to this particular area, the more I agree with you. There's a bunch of vultures that are sitting in a dead tree over there. Now, while it's quite common to have vultures sitting in trees in pairs and on their own where they rest for the night, definitely not when they're sitting that many vultures in the tree like that. So I'm holding thumbs that the closer we get there, the more information we start to find about what we're most likely to see. We've also been hearing elephant trumpeting almost the entire morning coming from this area, and that is indicative of elephant meeting up with a predator like a lion or a leopard or some wild dog. They quite often trumpet and go crazy really when they get to see them, and that's what I'm hoping to find over there. So all good really, to be quite honest with you. For those of you who have just joined us or don't know why all of a sudden you're with some bald ranger in the middle of the Kruger National Park, my name is Stefan Winterboer and we are on foot in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, one of the last and the largest of the wilderness areas left in the world. And the whole morning we've been in this area looking for some African wild dog, looking for elephant, looking for lion. And I must be honest with you, we are looking forward to seeing what is going on over there. So we're going to make our way through there. You're off to Connor and the drone.
All right, here we are. We're going to take straight to the air. We've got a wonderful sight with Connor. There it is, everybody. Look at him circling there, a bird that I have yet to identify. And the bird is interacting with the drone now. Not in any way threatened, it's not flying away, they're just sort of circling each other. Look at it gaining height as it turns into the wind there. I'm afraid unless it turns around and looks a bit more closely at us, I don't think I'm going to be able to identify it. Oh, yep, looks like, oh, is it a vulture or an eagle? It's one of the two. It's a vulture or an eagle. I think it's probably an eagle. I'm going to go with a tawny eagle, I suspect. A tawny or Wahlberg's eagles, those are the two most common brown eagles we get here. Oh, look at it fly. Isn't that just wonderful? It is a Wahlberg's eagle. I can tell that from the very narrow way that its tail closed as it turned to go with the wind. Is that not just fantastic, hung under those scudding gunmetal grey skies? That is beautiful. Right, we're going off for a short break. Don't go anywhere. Leopard's still on the hunt. Steph's still knocking about. Jamie's still with the giraffe. Come back soon. Phew. Are you all right, David?
Yes, James.
It's very tiring stuff. You know, we've been up since 10 to 4 this morning. And while I'm sitting here, I think it's best we look at that bird again. Let's go and look. I think it was a Wahlberg's eagle. I hate to think that I maybe told a lie. That's not the same bird. That's a batelier. It's definitely not the same bird. Is it? No, it's not. It's most certainly not. That is a batelier. Now, bateliers are very inquisitive about the drone. It's quite fun. Because, of course, they're scavengers, and, well, they've got a very Catholic diet, so they will scavenge. They'll also take things out of the air if they can. This is wonderful. This is just gorgeous. Right, we're going to set up now, everybody, our next sequence. How long have we got, Kirsten? 4.5 minutes. All right, let's just keep looking at this bird for the next 30 seconds. I could sit and watch a picture like this all day long. For me, watching birds fly like this, especially when it's silent, but for my yakking, of course, is the most peaceful thing you can do. And I had one of those wonderful experiences just the other day. It was during a rehearsal, and I was lying down in the grass waiting for David to faff with his cables and camera and earphones. I don't know what he was doing. And I can't tell you how high up, at least, it was a very small speck in the sky. A vulture came just gliding slowly over the top. And since I started out here, I remember the first time I had an experience like that, I've held on to that as a kind of jet, if you like, of peace. Can you have a jet of peace? It's like a jet of peace, the wash of peace through my body whenever I watch a vulture flying at that height. And the first time I saw it, I was actually on a game drive, and my girlfriend had just left, and so I was feeling very bereft and miserable, and I pretended that I had seen some tracks. We're going to go outside while you carry on watching that. I pretended that I had seen some tracks on the ground, and I went off on those tracks, and then I lay under a guarri bush while my guests were waiting on the vehicle for me, thinking I was finding them a lion, and I lay down under the ground, under this guarri bush, and I looked up into the sky, and that's the first time I noticed one of these vultures so high up. It was a tiny little speck, and I drew such tremendous comfort from it. Anyway, there's a little personal story for you while you wait for us to come back to TV. This is going to get awkward. Are we doing all right there, David? How much longer have I got, Kirsten, to get into this tree? 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes to hang about in this tree. Now, what I'm trying to set up here, everybody, is a demonstration of how far it is a giraffe has to fall when it is born. I'm going to have to get up quite a lot higher than this. Oh, this is going to be awkward. Okay, there we are. All right. So basically, my feet are at the height from which the giraffe will fall. This giraffe bone is going to masquerade as a baby giraffe. And I'm going to hope fervently that in the next 2 minutes, this tree does not fall. I don't think I can use the microscope in this segment, Kirsten. Just the tree, if that's all right. No, not the tree and the microscope together. That will be too hard. Unless you want me to try. I can try and do that, Kirsten. There's a spider up here we could look at with the microscope. How much longer do I have to perch here? No, it's not 5 minutes. She's now talking rubbish. She says I have to sit here for 5 minutes. TV's coming back in 5 minutes. This tree will not hold me for that length of time. 1 minute. Oh, gosh. As long as a minute of my life. Is that all right, David? Is that better? You're not getting that dreadful thing known as the crotch shot, are you? Okay, good. Hashtag after 12. 40 seconds, 40. I hope nobody's too sad about the Patriots, at least about the Falcons. And thank you for being concerned about my safety. I don't want to fall either. Although, I mean, this is what it's like for a giraffe. Sherilyn, you say it's starting to bend. It certainly is starting to bend. The wind is starting to blow. The rarefied atmosphere up here is quite something. There are at least 3 species of spider that I've seen so far. 15 seconds, good grief. Okay, here we go. Welcome back everybody to your live safari from the northeast corner of the world's most magnificent country, that is of course South Africa. There might be some debate about it, but if you were living in South Africa, there would be no debate at all. My name is James Henry, you are on a live safari, and you can talk to us still for the next 20 minutes or so. Hashtag Safari Live is the best and indeed only way to get hold of us on Twitter. Why am I sitting in a tree? Well, that's a very good question that you might pose, but what I'm doing is going to show you how far a giraffe baby has to fall. My foot here small as it is, size 7, is 2 meters above the ground. That is about 6 feet. So, there's a Nyala behind me walking past. I can't, look at that. I wonder if he's seen me. Hello. That's wonderful. That, of course, was not set up at all. Right, now, go away. I'm trying to tell a story. Thank you so much. Move along. Nothing to see here. Yes, good. Off we go. Now, this tree is starting to feel a bit ropey. So a giraffe baby has to fall from this distance here when it's born. Now, I think that's quite something. I'm not going to jump down from here. I'm going to climb gently down as I do that. I'm rather hoping that we'll go across to Jamie, who I think is on her way to the giraffe. So, in case I kill myself, let's head across to Jamie right now.
We definitely don't want James to go tumbling out of a tall tree. It wouldn't really be the first time he's done it either. Right, we've just gone all the way on a big loop around the waterhole to try and get another view of this gorgeous baby giraffe that we've been seeing. Hold on a moment, we're not quite there just yet. We just have to go around a few corners. I had to take the long way around to get a slightly better view. Hopefully, she hasn't disappeared. Oh, Dylan, you want to know? There she is, perfect. In the middle of the road. Let me go in quite quietly. Dylan, sorry. You want to know how giraffe evade fast predators? Dylan, they're faster than they look, giraffe. They have very, very long legs, which of course helps to create speed. Even though they look as though they're running slowly, they can still reach speeds of around about 50 miles per hour. Let's get a bit closer to her. So Dylan, they're not necessarily slow. They're also not defenseless. Large predators, the only thing really large enough to catch a giraffe is a lion. And giraffe are able to kick and to fight back. And they will also defend their little ones as well if a lion pride does attack them. There they are now. I can only see the adult at the moment. As I said, they sometimes separate from their calves. There she is. Stop here and just wait to see if baby comes to join her. I can't see any sign of her. Though there are cases of leopards actually killing leopards and lions that have attacked them just by the sheer power of their kicks. You can just imagine, this is a truly massive animal. You can imagine the strength that her legs would hold. Now, you see that bird sitting on the top of her head? It's doing the same job as the oxpeckers were last week. It is a red-billed oxpecker. Brent had them last week, cleaning away all of the ticks around from behind her ears and around her eyes, any exoparasites that she might have picked up whilst feeding off the leaves. Sometimes they're very handy, and sometimes they're a little bit of an irritant, especially when they're going around the sensitive skin around her ears and her eyes. You can see she's munching away. Oh no. She's hit that oxpecker on the head with her ear. I'm trying to see whether or not there's any sign of that tiny, tiny baby. But while we wait for it to return, Jeremy, you want to know how long does a baby giraffe stay with its mother? Oh no, don't disappear. Don't disappear, girl. And the answer to that is a good few months, probably around about 1.5 years when they reach maturity. And sometimes they could stay even longer than that. So giraffe don't have a set herd structure, especially if it's a female. She might decide to stick around with her mum because it is safe for her to do so. You know, just a little bit of safety in numbers. But they don't have a set herd structure, so she could leave after 18 months. Male could also leave around that time as he starts to reach sexual maturity. That's about when they will start moving off on their own. So it's quite a long time spent with a parent when you compare it to things like antelope. And unfortunately, our view is relatively limited. She's hidden behind the trees. This baby is playing hard to get. Can you see it there, Viam? So far, our roof has been completely for nothing because it has not rained even a little bit. Is that the baby behind her there? Or is it a termite mound? Am I imagining things? No, look, its tail's moving. Underneath her belly. There we are. Hello, little one. They're such strangely disproportionate creatures, baby giraffe, even while we're just looking at its little tail. Their necks are proportionately much, much shorter than that of their counterparts, proportionately. So their legs are long enough so that they can keep up with mum when she runs, but their necks have to be quite short because they actually have to be able to bend down in order to suckle. Come on, little one, you're playing shy. Now, at the top of her head, the reason that I know that she's a female, apart of course from the fact that she has a baby, which is usually a dead giveaway, are a pair of horns with fur on top of them. And Emily Ann, you want to know what it is that giraffe use those horns for. They're actually technically ossicones, solid bone that sit on the top of their heads. Luckily for us, our giraffe is doing a really marvelous job of showing us what we're talking about by moving behind the tree. They use them for fighting. So in males, they are much, much thicker than the females. They don't have any hair on the top. And the males do something that's known as necking, which is swinging their heads backwards and forwards and whacking their opponent on the side. They also have more prominent bones around their skull so that they can hit them on the side, on the legs. That is the way in which giraffe fight. And it's one of the easiest ways to tell the difference between female and male giraffe. While we look at spots through trees, I'm sure you're all wondering what the outcome of Steph's investigation has been. Let's go and see what's happening where he is.
I'm actually convinced that there is a kill here somewhere, but I'm not convinced that it's still fresh. I think that it's actually finished. And the reason why I'm saying that is that all around this area, in almost every tree that can house a vulture has housed a vulture, and as we've approached that tree, they've flown away. Now, vultures that are intent on food on the ground are fighting and squabbling at one another for food on their ground. If there was a predator in attendance on that particular prey item or on that particular piece of food, the vultures would still be in the tree, would fly away, but would circle back again when we approached. None of the vultures here have done that. We've literally been scouring this area for the last 45 minutes or so, trying to get closer and closer, visiting all these trees, seeing what's around. And I think that in conclusion to I think it's finished. It doesn't say that there's no lion or leopard lying around over here. In actual fact, it might even be a leopard kill in a tree somewhere where the vultures just can't. It is just, I suppose it's the nature of life, really. It's the way that it goes. It just takes so much time to try and unravel this mystery that is the bush around us. We've literally been following clues, vulture tree to vulture tree, and using species of vulture to give us ideas. Vultures like the ones you're looking at the moment are the white-backed vultures. They like to eat the entrails of a carcass, and they quite often wait until the carcass has been opened by the larger vulture species. Now, Amy, you've asked me about how many vultures are found in the park. Wow, that is a difficult question for me to answer because I don't know the exact number of vultures. But what I can tell you though, Amy, is that vultures are on the endangered species list mainly because of the trade in their parts. People are catching vultures and selling their vultures selling their parts, feathers, eyes, heads, feet, are selling them on the traditional medicine markets all over the globe. One of the reasons for this, very similar to how tiger bone is used or lion bones are used. People believe that by taking the head of a vulture and powdering it and putting it in some tea or in a drink and drinking it will be able to allow you to see opportunities in the future. You know, I suppose there's, you know, what can I say? Just don't buy animals parts is all I can say, and there'll be more vultures in the park. All right. But I think what we're going to do is carry on snooping around over here. I'd love to show you what is going on over here, but I think that the vultures have finished this kill. In any case, well, you're off to Brent and Tingana.
Well, Mr. Tingana has not had a successful morning. Now, he's moved on top of another big termite mound, except this one is right near the edge of the river, and you can see it's really well wooded, and this is an excellent spot for him to wait out the day. Now, leopards will sleep for average 18 hours a day, and that's why we go out early in the morning and late in the afternoon when they're most likely to be moving. But he is an opportunist, so anything could happen at any second. And the reason he's chosen a spot like this, you can see there's lovely Timbuerti trees and some guarri thickets around here, is that he can lie on top and have a really good commanding view of the area around him. And this is an area where Inyala and Impala are likely to move through during the heat of the day. So he's having a snooze, but he's also hoping to get an easy meal. If something wanders close enough to his termite mound, the prince of predators will strike. And oh, look at those terrible biting flies on his ear. That's often why the big cats and other animals out here have such raggedy ears. Those are little stable flies, nasty little bloodsuckers that are biting him constantly. That's why his ears are always a flicker. Oh, and he's got a big grey tick attached to his one spot there as well. So it is, even though leopards look often beautifully clean, they are full of lots of little ectoparasites, biting flies, and are actually quite smelly. Now, I don't think Mr. Tingana is going to move a muscle, but it has been absolutely splendid spending a full 2-hour live safari with the magnificent male leopard. And from the killer bees, Brian and Brent, and the hard-working Thumb, we'll see you 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nat.Geo Wild next week. Let's go across to the highly entertaining, highly amusing James Henry in his bush office.
I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm standing. Simon, we're live. Simon really enjoyed Lady Gaga's performance today at the halftime show. He's got over the fact that his beloved Atlanta Falcons lost. They lost. Sorry about that, Simon. Good. Now, we're about to close down, but before we do that, I did, of course, promise you a while back that we would watch the progress of our tadpoles, and this is an appropriate time for me to tell you about what you're going to be watching next. Ooh, let me just try and kill the light a bit. There, we'll give a little bit of light. There he is. What you're going to be watching next is something called giant sea serpent, and it's about the oarfish that live off the coast of the French Riviera. The French Riviera, no less. Anyway, you can see there that this tadpole has now got his back legs, and that means he should start to progress fairly quickly from here. Now, the giant oarfish was the fish that gave rise to the legend of the sea serpent, and so that's what you're going to learn about next. Don't go anywhere. I think it sounds absolutely fascinating. It lives in the abyss off the French Riviera. What it's doing off the French Riviera, I don't know. We think it has something to do with the fact that it's probably quite a nice place to shoot a film because they actually live all over the world. We're just going to quickly show you now where all of the tadpoles live. Now, they don't live in here permanently. I know that's not a very salubrious neighborhood, but that's where they live while they are live. Then they go into a much bigger tank, which we'll show you in the last show a little bit later. Right, we're going to take to the air now for the last 30 seconds. There is Summer Africa, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's been a wonderful time here with the leopards and everything that we had. We didn't find the wild dogs. Hopefully next week. We will be seeing you, of course, same time, same place. That's 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday evenings on Nat.Geo Wild. So that will be when we will see you next. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for taking part in all our quizzes. And I hope that you stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be in the world. Bye-bye.